maybe they can apply it to themselves down the road, or honestly just get some more experience under their belt against a team that is as lethal as FURIA.
Well, let's see here, folks. Heading into the map now, it's Chalet, the final matchup for Navi of the tournament, irregardless of the outcome, and for FURIA, only serving more than likely to propel them further into the playoff stage, potentially better seeding if they can end up on top of SSG. We'll follow that up, though, once the game is done. Let's take a look at the bans here. First, though, it's going to be Navi getting the first attacker ban and the final defender ban. On the outside there, FURIA get the two in the middle. Zofia going to be banned out first, removing one of the mainstay operators for most of our attacking teams in this tournament.
And one of our ranged soft breachers as well that has seen the most play out of all of the soft breaches here at LAN. Recent change with her, obviously, we've been talking about quite a bit with her AR, has lended people to play the LMG quite a bit more often, but we're not going to be seeing any of that inside of this game. Maverick also going to falter to the sword here.
Maverick once again being banned out. Quite a bit of usefulness for Maverick, especially when dealing with the office holds more than anything, but a couple other key positions where he can really help out if there's going to be a hard lockdown for the defense with wall denial placed behind that. Also, Mira going to be next up. We've already explained that one plenty of times. Mira pretty much a mainstay for the defense when she's allowed into the pool because of the peak opportunities it presents the defenders, so way too useful to get knocked out. And Navi, another interesting one here, going to ban out Mozzie as the final choice.
Honestly, I don't think that we even have to explain why Mozzie is so potent, especially in the common day. The Mute Mozzie combo has been something that's been going on since Mozzie's inception, all the way back in Burnt Horizon. It's also the last brand new map that we've gotten as well, all the way back at Outback. So you guys can imagine how long ago that was. He's going to get removed here. It's going to be limiting some of the denial potential for both of these defenses, but obviously it'll start off with Navi having to work around that obstacle. I really like FURIA's bans here, especially with the Mav coming in. The Mira is very straightforward. We explain this one all the time. She's just very solid when it comes to defensive setups. She's just one of those operators that allows you to have a greater chance at standing on those defensive bastions. So that's going to be removed. But the Mav, especially for the basement, that's what I'm looking into. That wine cellar side is so very difficult to hold down for the defense when those walls start to get breached, and this forces you to have to fight through that utility first instead of just torching some lines.
We'll see if that even leads us into any type of basement play with the ban being in the pool. Certainly will probably ignite Navi's as well as FURIA's capability to potentially go down there and play into that site, but overall, not been seeing a whole lot of play down there due to how difficult it tends to be sometimes for defenders to actually take control of it. Still end up getting picked from time to time, however, it's not completely out of the cards. We may see it, especially considering the circumstances of this matchup. For Navi, though, looking like a fairly typical setup over here inside of the bar site. The extension up to the top of blue stairs with the deployable shield, as well as the rest of the reinforcements to allow the play outside of library and inside of office going down now.
Yeah, this is exactly what the Jaeger, Rooney, and Volmeyer are all going to support. Obviously, the rest of these operators, a little bit of denial as well as just mute for good measure to hold down some walls, as well as just get in the way of a couple of these drones and maybe mess around with some of Fntzy's utility and the likes of that Gemini as well. But either way, Fntzy and the rest of FURIA now out and onto the map and already have a frag as Dokio go down. Tries for the early aggression, but FURIA, this LATAM squad, prepared.
I mean, what do we say, right? We're going to get an aggressive Doki, and we definitely get one right off the bat. It seems as though FURIA was very much expecting that, as Highs is going to be able to knock him out, only losing about half of his own HP in the process. That's going to be a lot of the Solarium side control already going over to FURIA for free, less than 30 seconds into the round here. Fntzy has already entered and taken full control of the master bathroom, and is going to begin to crunch over towards office, so his teammates supporting out from the balcony can enter as well.
Oh, that hot pink rifle here for Fntzy, changing up to the plasma pink. One of my personal favorite universal colors in the entire game. Also one that you have to get from a pack, John, so it's not one that you can just go and outright buy. And on top of that, it's also legendary, so it's one of those ones that you rarely get to actually have on your account. Luckily enough for me, as well as these LAN players, they get to use it. We'll have to see if you can get any extra frags with that. Everything falls silent here as they're beginning to spin up these drones once again, but they're working on multiple facets of the map currently. Obviously coming in from the Solarium side and starting to apply pressure across. Fntzy, as well as Rare, will begin handling this office space. Rare's going to pop up on the wall and give them some engagement space in order to work with this shield down the line. Highs obviously can assist with this as well, as he has EMP, so he can practically disable all of this utility sitting here to defend the shield and make these frag grenade plays very straightforward.
We're going to take a hit here as he tries to cross over from the balcony side. Not even sure if that's where the shots came from ultimately, but still, he's going to drop him down right around 50.
Well.
And the nade, as he drifts just a tad too close to the soft breach wall there, is going to allow Lenda to pick up the next frag here. They're going to be air jabs as well, preventing the bit of aggression we saw from Nath and the rest of Navi as they try to push up against this window play from FURIA. FURIA realizing it's a little bit too hot for comfort though, so they are going to see them drift away from the window. The rest of the team's already been able to push in from the office position, and Nath unfortunately can no longer sustain on the top of blue stairs. He's got to go down to the first floor.
Fntzy Starting to hunt him down as well here. FURIA with a fantastic offense so far, and it'll continue. Secretly.FURIA next. Nath with a possible play here as he is at the bottom of blue, but some hot pinks coming out to give him some extra information. The only remaining member of Navi in the actual site is Saves on that smoke, and his smoke utilities dwindled to one. Nath with a wide swing here, but he can't get the frag that he needed most. Miracle on the other end of the hallway will take him down, leading into the 1v5.
Saves would like an opportunity to save right now, but unfortunately that's not a mechanic in this game, so I'll have to play this one out in the 1v5 here. Still a Toxic Babe to chuck out. He's more than likely can deny the plan, although I think he actually imploded the gas a little bit too early there, so not going to work out. Hey, he gets a 1-for-1 trade before he goes down, but it is, of course, a very small gesture in the grand scheme of things. It's still a FURIA dominant round to the bitter end, nearly flawless as well, save for that final trade as they walk right over the Navi defense inside of bar.
I said it that last game, but I'll say it again here. That ARX damage knows no bounds to the body. 2 to 3 shots and you're going to end up losing your life. FURIA with a flawless round there as well to take down Navi. Navi just not able to get anything going inside of that round in any sense of the word. Not in the frag department. The utility usage was poor there, especially from Saves as he botches his last smoke to prevent the actual plant from going down. And, well, frags come in big there. Obviously, a trade coming in, so not exactly a flawless round, but we'll give it to him. Why not?
Yeah, might as well there. It's FURIA, though, feeling confident about themselves. Certainly a solid defense being put up. Navi, though, just going to reattempt the same exact site set up with, for the most part, a lot of similar operator flair coming into the picture here as well.
You've obviously never scrimmed before, sir. You have to continue to play the same side until you win it. That's just how it is.
Oh,
This is how it is. Gosh, how dare you?
I forgot that this is basically a scrim at this point for Navi. So.
Can't tell everybody at home that. All right?
This is a live scrim, ladies and gentlemen.
We're basically casting a FPLC match for you guys right now. That's basically what's happening. But that's perfectly fine. Again, this is something that honestly benefits Navi very heavily. We talked about this before the map even started with them taking FURIA to Chalet. This is one of FURIA's best maps, so more of a learning experience than anything.
Yeah, like we said, Navi right now are going to see if they can maybe force anything out of FURIA to try and reveal some more strategy-wise, but so far, not going to be the case with the way that we saw Navi play inside of that last round. FURIA going about things in a very standard way and able to clear out Navi without too much of an issue here. So the attacks don't need to be varied up that much at the moment here for FURIA. We'll see if things change up, though. That was just a momentary blip for Navi, and they're going to try to jump back into this with a little bit more prowess on the second attempt.
Well, Doki would probably describe it as a blip because he saw a grayscaled screen pretty quickly there. We'll see if he's able to tone it down just a little bit here. Let FURIA work the building where he goes for that initial pick. This time he will indeed make it past the 30-second mark, so we at least have that going for him. As for the rest of Navi, this setup still looking pretty straightforward as compared to what they were doing the last time. Just sticking to it and seeing if they can try and deal with FURIA through different plays in and of themselves. You can see Doki starting to work the map a lot more here. Instead of going for this initial frag inside of the first minute, he's traveled all the way to the basement and is more than likely going to start looking for some flanks. But this is the biggest thing. FURIA does not leave a box unchecked when it comes to these offenses, and they'll be prioritizing the Nomad here with those air jabs.
Navi continuing to wait out for an opportunity, taking a much more passive approach to their setup this time. And FURIA, of course, taking all this extra time that they will be gifted because there is a passive setup to explore all of their options before potentially pushing out into the open and taking some additional risks. Speaking of which, Nath is going to throw himself out there for one right now, and it works out, eliminating one of the most potent players on FURIA. Fntzy going down first for their roster.
Beautiful shot from him, and see if FURIA, if it puts FURIA on their back foot, something that seldom happens with this offense, but obviously could be the case here in the circumstances. Shields down here. Fntzy not going to be able to assist them in the scouting department, but obviously still a lot of utility that FURIA can use to propel themselves forward, especially with Thermite now blowing off this wall. They saw those EMPs as well to assist, and Lenda still with some frag grenades that could possibly deal with these deployable shields. Now, Nath, the last time, backed off as soon as these ADSs started getting burnt. We'll have to see if FURIA can get the job done here once again.
Nath continuing to wait for another opportunity to pick up a frag. Unfortunately, it's going to be a frag chucked at him instead, which will take care of his cover, forcing him a little bit further down the blue stairs. Still going to maintain that position, though. This is a all-or-nothing match, really, for Navi, and they're trying to throw it all at FURIA right now. Unfortunately, leads to the death of Nath as a result of that aggressive play, trading us down to a 4v4, but that's all wasted time, and this is beginning to play into the favor of Navi quite heavily, with only 40 seconds remaining on the clock.
FURIA's got to get something done here, and secretly with the lob, straight up top and able to get 2 big frags onto FURIA. It's definitely going to hinder them going forward. And as you said, the case down as well. FURIA dwindling in options here, but that doesn't mean that they can't try and frag out with their 2 remaining members. Although, it doesn't look too hot going into the last 20 seconds. Rare on his own will hop inside of Mud, worried about a possible Frostmat being here, as he damn well should be. Something that happens way too often as Doki will finally get his swing that he's been looking for the entirety of this round. He'll get his one, but so will another Navi member. Round here for Navi, so we tie things up 1-1.
Much better correction there coming in from Navi. Way more control over the aggression, only throwing it out at points where they know they're going to get these peaks from FURIA, and more than likely FURIA is going to be in a disadvantageous position in those situations there. That accounts for the plays on the top of the blue stairs, as well as what we see there from Doki at the end. Some great stuff from them, and as well, that beautiful double nitro. Unfortunately, didn't catch that one on camera, but great stuff from Secretly, lining up perfect time to throw the support utility out there and shut down a large majority of the roster from FURIA. So that ties us up at 1-1. We're going to head upstairs next inside of Master and Office for the second site defensive Navi.
A lot more calculation there from Navi. The only thing that was kind of an overextension there would possibly be Nath on blue with his engagement, but obviously Secretly makes it work out for them, and they'll be able to at least get some frags on deck to make FURIA's life a heck of a lot harder inside of round 2. And that leads us into round 3 now, folks, where Navi will be finally moving away from the gym or from the games bar defense and moving upstairs towards Master and Office. And this is the favorite site of quite a few squads, and we'll have to see Navi's take on it.
Usually we have been seeing a heavy focus put onto defending the inner part of the office, and it seems that's going to hold true here for Navi as Saves is throwing down those reinforcements right now. Laser gates will support the additional positions, such as where Saves just threw that one down right there, more than likely going to put the other two over here towards a position to support the library hold here to allow for the extended play to come in from here, and a much slower clear from FURIA before they get right up on Navi's site doorstep over towards the office.
And this right here leads into the other point to make about the site as well. So thank you very much, John. And it's the Solarium play that we could possibly see as well. We see a lot of teams try and hold things down on that side of the map with some ADSs as well as some laser gates, but obviously with the laser gates going down on this side, we could see FURIA with an adjustment and swing across to try and attempt a Solarium take instead, but instead they'll be bullheaded. They want to try and push into this and see what they can get done.
Fntzy just waiting for a pixel angle, and he nearly gets some shots sent his way instead there by the player holding the outskirts of the library position. Fntzy not scared though, continuing to sit on this angle. Tries to spray into it when he sees a different player from Navi going across, but unfortunately will not pan out. Highs in a different spot over here towards the balcony is going to find success though, as he's able to eliminate Blur and take the Malusi out of play for the Navi roster. Saves also nearly getting caught on the transition too. A lot of outside angles, making it difficult for Navi to even take simple steps throughout the inside of the map.
Usually an extremely high-octane offense when it comes to FURIA that lends them a lot of picks, but this time around, not really the case. Very calculated way that they're doing things, and these frags are coming through in very plentiful bouts here. Blurr going to fall off, one of the stronger Navi players, especially when it comes to that frag potential, but obviously not going to have access to him for this round. And FURIA more than likely very happy about that as they propel themselves forward through Library. As for Navi's main game plan right now, though, they have 3 on site, but they still have a hidden option moving their way through the basement, and that hidden option is going to be Secretly, who indeed still does have a nitro cell after he struck true earlier on, taking down 2.
Secretly waiting for a sound cue to give away a potential play here. If he can get that nitro cell out into this bulk of FURIA players still stacked around the site, can start to maybe turn this round back on the heels in the favor of Navi, but so far no success in that department. Secretly still patiently waiting for that play potential to show up at some point later in the round, though. FURIA only just now opening things up towards the office as well. Highs able to trade things out, but what a trade from Nath as well. Quickly dispatching of Highs after he took down one of their teammates. Still going to be a disadvantage for Navi, but at least firing back a little bit with Lenda's downing as well. Elsewhere on the map, it could be equalized if Lenda fails to be retrieved by his teammates.
Very important position here for Nath to hold down his entire defensive success. Basically weighs on him as I believe the mute maybe possibly ended up getting that there. The mute jammer extended out a little bit too far there for the Gemini to run into the laser gates. They'll be able to hold that down. Rare's also got the main wall open here for Office already, but just remember, Navi do still have that nuclear option down low with Secretly and that nitro cell, so this could be a plant attempt getting actually blocked off here from the defense. We'll have to see how it ends up breaking down going into the last 20 seconds. The case currently on Rare is he'll be able to land some shots onto Saves. Secretly actually rotating back up top, and he'll actually be having to play this on a horizontal basis now. Can't possibly get any sight lines onto the planter either, and Lenda with a great rotation will get a repel for Master Window and take down the lone player.
Crosswork and the angle setups coming into that round from FURIA just far too strong. Every time Navi tried to go for an aggressive swing, which was quite often on the inside of that round, FURIA FURIA, for the most part, is able to catch that. Nath really the only one that finds success with that little swing from the piano window to trade out a fallen teammate that had gone down from the other window in that same position there. Aside from that, though, Navi not really able to get much going for themselves and slowly just losing more and more control until they're stuck in a corner in the back of their site. FURIA takes the lead at 2-1. Once again, we're going to repeat that same site for Navi as they're just running through the motions.
Yeah, FURIA proving time and time again that this team is not a one-trick pony. I mean, they can play any style of siege necessary to get the job done. This one, much more calculated than some of the aggression that we've seen in the past. That maybe got them into a little bit of trouble with Navi previously, but obviously riding the ship here and making sure that nothing goes unchecked. Navi really not having an answer to anything that FURIA is throwing at them either. The overarching strategy led them to try and hold on to Library with those laser gates with some longer angles, but it didn't thwart any of FURIA's plans at all. Like we said at the beginning, they wanted to try and bullhead that side, and it just simply worked out.
And so for FURIA, continuing to maintain control, they're going to remain nice, cool, calm, and collective on the inside of this matchup. They know it's a little bit of a toss-up as well, just because of the fact that Navi knows that they're going to be very much not worried about the future of this tournament for them on the inside of this matchup, meaning they're going to be going for some crazy plays from time to time. And so far, FURIA has done a fantastic job at catching that for the most part. But at the same time, Navi already showed us one good adjustment on the second play down in the bar site on the second round. So we'll see if the same thing is going to show up here on the rerun of the upstairs bedroom site, as they'll look for their second win as well. And FURIA will look to really solidify their lead with the third pickup.
Okay, so FURIA, offensive game looking so very strong right now up against Navi, but now it's up to Navi to make the adjustments. We saw it previously. They had a more calculated defense for their games bar area, but past that, FURIA have been able to jump ahead here. This offense, once again, looking very, very solid. So I'm going to be starting things off on the Library side here again. You can tell how well rehearsed this is. As High is going to be able to get a Claymore down on the far side. I just wanted to make sure that none of the Navi members can hop outside and try and take down anybody working this balcony area. So FURIA, as they're getting everything set up for their main base camp, should start propelling forward through Library soon.
It's going to be that slow roll once again for Navi, as well as FURIA. Navi once again pulling back on the aggression just a tad after finding out that, again, doesn't really work out for them on the initial attempt on the site. FURIA plays it slowly, carefully, and reads into most of it. More importantly, catches all of these attempts to swing back out. Doki, though, still the mainstay for this type of play style on Navi right now. No surprise that we're going to continue to see him lurking around the map, looking for those opportunities, but from the looks of it, it will be quite some time before he's able to potentially line up something for himself, as he needs to rotate all the way through basement. Probably going to work his way up through those main stairs towards the front of the building, see if he can make an impact from there once FURIA start to take this map control for themselves. FURIA, though, already in over here towards the Library. Full control has been gained for themselves. Rare's actually keeping a watch out in case Doki tries to move up that staircase. A pretty common move to throw at these guys. Nate's going to try to get aggressive once again there. Highs will stop it, as we see FURIA picking up the quick 5v4 advantage.
Nath not having a really good time right now, 2-4, and has been practically the earliest pick every single round, minus the round that we saw Doki die almost instantaneously off spawn. So FURIA happy about this lead, and they'll begin continuing, actually, their drone game here, but secretly on the roam once again. The last time he simply waltzed around the basement until he eventually walked back up Solarium stairs, not really achieving anything and getting taken down from the master window. So we'll see if he can get something else done here, and it starts off very strong with taking down Miracle, and a beautiful shot out of that SMG-11. Fntzy, though, making things a lot more difficult inside of the actual site as Doki will get taken down. A piano. Blurr will trade it out, though, straight through the Alibi clone as well, and making sure that FURIA know that they can shoot back.
Saves Blurr and secretly keeping the numbers even here for Navi, but at the same time, some strong players still up and running for FURIA. Lenda takes out the aggressive swing from Saves. He tries to go into the hallway. The Nitro perfectly primed. It's even heard by Rare, but the reaction too slow. The impact is made. The 2v2 is isolated here. Lenda trying to look for this player past the wall. They know there's one somewhere, but they've missed where it's coming from, and Blurr lines them both up as Navi completes the trade again.
And that's that frag potential we were talking about from Blurr, and it's a very straightforward 2K from him. John doesn't even have to adjust the crosshair. Both of them lining up perfectly, and as the stars align, put some bullets through those domes. So very nicely done there from Navi. Able to finally get some more rounds on deck, and again, out comes the counters. This is the biggest thing. They're able to equalize in man advantage and then take it to FURIA in those dying moments, keeping that counterplay down low in the back pocket for the proper time. And you also have to remember, FURIA had some insight into this, as well as Miracle had gotten taken down earlier from Secretly, so a little bit of an overstep from them to not respect what was going on that mid-level.
Navi certainly putting up a good fight here, at minimum adjusting very well to the mistakes that are being made on the initial site plays here. And we'll see if that same process of the seesaw between these two teams is going to repeat itself, or if Navi can take a bit more of a definitive stance here finally. 2 rounds left to go. We'll see if it'll lead to 2 site replays, or if maybe look at the chance to rerun one of their other sites. You guys, though, in the meanwhile, can go ahead in-game and check out some of these new R6 share skins. We're showing off the NIP one right there, but there's plenty more, including Navi and FURIA 1. So if you're interested, all those new skins for your favorite teams are available in the store now, and don't forget that purchases support your favorite teams.
Yeah, Navi's got like a Bumblebee Zofia skin. It's very yellow, you know, very out there. I actually like the skin overall. And as for FURIA, that 416C skin that's got that shiny metallic FURIA logo on the side, it's pretty damn cool. So make sure you guys go and check those out. But as soon as we say that, round 5 starts now. So let's look at some of the adjustments that both of these teams have made. Obviously, with Navi winning the previous round, they have to change up bomb sites. So where are they going to go? Well, they can't go to Split, or excuse me, they can't go to their Games Bar site, and they also can't go back up top. So they're going to go into Kitchen instead. You can't exactly blame them, because the other one is what I consider to be the worst option on this map, in the basement.
Yeah, we were already talking about that earlier, and the fact that Mavericks ban up probably makes it a little bit more palatable, seeing as you can realistically deny the garage opening for a large majority of the room.
As well as the wine cellar side,
as well
with
as
those
the
walls.
wine cellar side. However, for the most part, though, still a pretty intense site for the defenders to try and successfully take for themselves, so it won't be surprising if Navi avoid that at all. And just kind of run this one like a scrim and rerun all of these sites that they're probably trying to prioritize right now. Doki, an aggressive lineup, but the drone's going to spot him out. He chooses not to take the fight. It's a very good thing that he does. He nearly loses his life on the retreat, going down to sub 25 HP. He's shaking his head a little bit there as he just, man, what can you do?
It's like, they saw me for a split second and I almost died. Like, it's just so very close, trying to sneak by. And they're inside of the closet for library, but not able to get it done. And now FURIA, apparently aware that Doki is more than likely in the basement, just waiting for them to overstep and see if he can possibly climb his way up a stairwell and get some frags. FURIA, though, progressing forward very, very well. Secretly, it might end up swinging this. Actually going to pop a hole in the wall with the TCSG. This is a gun that we don't see get too much use anymore, as a frag grenade's going to come in. He's not even actually going to get any use out of it at all, as he's immediately been down inside of office. I don't exactly know where that frag grenade came from either, but I'm assuming it's Fntzy, since he is indeed down 1.
So that is going to bring us to a downstate for Secretly. No one really nearby to be able to retrieve him. It's possible Blurr could work his way over there, but never mind. Looking at it a second time, Blurr is actually downstairs, so just quickly correct myself on that one. Lenda, though, opening up access to try and throw down the exothermic charge. Doki still trying to work with his low HP, catches that lurk from one of the FURIA members in the basement and quickly sends that player back upstairs. Miracle not wanting to mess around with that. Doki will also survive down there. Unfortunately for Secretly, it's not looking like there is going to be an opportunity to retrieve him, so we will stay in a down state and more than likely become the eventual first death for Navi.
This is super unfortunate here for Blurr. It's holographic, going to be extremely difficult trying to take these gunfights all the way down range. Highs with yet another kill as well will set Navi back even farther, but they've done a pretty good job of being able to fight this thus far. Although now Blurr also falling inside of sight. Doki on low HP. He'll be holding things down inside of West Main, but so much pressure around this area. Doki might be able to get a frag here. He'll be able to at least get one, but this plant almost down already inside of Dining. And as that goes down, the Yokai drone to prevent won't actually work out. Doki with 2 now. We need to see Nath step up to the plate, but not before Fntzy takes down Doki. Can he get the second frag? He will. The G36C able to get it done. So
that is going to be another well-run attack there by the FURIA roster, continuing to take the first attempts on all these defenses from Navi. Like we said, though, this has been a bit of a seesaw-y process. Navi makes some quick adjustments after the first round doesn't go so well, and usually has won it on the second attempt. We'll see if that prophecy truly comes true for all 3 of these sites, or if one of these teams can get a definitive advantage, notably FURIA, by potentially taking it for a second time. However, Navi's not going to reattempt themselves into that same kitchen hole. They're going back to Bar, where they've already found previous success in this half.
You cannot blame them.
Finally deviating from the scrim rules.
Yeah. Always got to head back, man, and win those sites, but they feel more confident about Bar Gaming and everything else that comes along with it. And honestly, you can't exactly blame them, especially with how those 2 previous rounds went. The initial one, FURIA just had a very solid read over the situation. I think their clear was a little bit too strong, especially when it came to blue stairs. Nath just did not have an opportunity to get anything done. The next one, obviously, Nath ends up getting taken down, but Secretly is the one to pull it back across the line in that tug of war, and FURIA end up losing the round because of it. So they're more than likely going to be cognizant about possible Nitro Cell plays, as they've been thwarted twice from that now.
It's been throwing them off to quite a large degree here, especially inside of that second attempt, but they're able to slow down the play by a lot more. The good news is only have to worry about one of them from Navi this time. The overall amount of those Nitro cells being brought to the table is quite weak. Just that single one on Secretly, where he was able to leverage the double on the last win here for them. And aside from that, we've brought a lot more different forms of utility for Navi to use here. Deployable shields, as well as the bulletproof camera, and even the motion sensors coming out there on Nath as well to try to give a little bit more intel against these attacks.
I don't know if he had those the last time, but that might have been one of the reasons why that Nitro cell hit so hard, is he possibly got a read on that. But either way, though, obviously what happened in the previous one and not now, as FURIA enters out onto the field. Only 15 seconds off the clock already, so catching you guys right at the beginning here, FURIA is going to be headed straight for Library, especially in Rare's case, or actually I think Rare is going immediately to the roof, so scratch that. Not going to be starting things off on the Solarian side like they did previously, all except for Miracle's case. He started off by Campfire.
So as we continue to point out for FURIA's initial attempts to vie the control away from Navi here, it's going to be a slow rolling process, as for the most part you can see FURIA not putting a whole lot of aggression on the Library side, where we have seen them take control previously. It's looking like it's going to be a much more Solarium focused take for this team, as they've already moved multiple members in Fntzy. No surprise, they're leading the charge for the team as he approaches up towards Piano, where finally he's going to start to potentially get a little bit of resistance from the Navi side of things. It'll be a few moments before we potentially get to that, though, as it's looking like the members of FURIA do want to deal with a bit of utility and open up better angles for them to potentially swing into before they feel the confidence to go further forward towards the Library hold.
Well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. FURIA is going to continue to do the same clear, even though they do start off on the Library side of the map. So obviously assuming that this site wasn't going to be where it was, or at least not switching their spawns, which is something that happens very often, and more than likely to all of us, because I do it all of the time. But Navi are going to be able to continue to hold on to this top floor, but it does get a bit sketchy when you start looking into the way that FURIA can play this out. They're at least going to get rid of the laser gate here for the Library hallway, and obviously with those EMPs, they can get rid of all of the supporting utility to handle that shield like they did previously. FURIA now getting things set up, the EMP out, frag grenade as well. Can it get it done? No, actually one of the ADS is still there, but I think the second one's actually going to land true, but no, it doesn't. Actually ends up getting hit from a Wamidus that was just a little bit too far out, and Navi are able to maintain blue control.
Nath now waiting again for the aggression to swing out here from the FURIA roster. Can see right around the corner, knows there's going to be some foolery going on in the window, and also wants to quickly reset the laser gate. It's unfortunate too, the timing on that was pretty much perfect for Nath, as it denies the hop-in from Fntzy. He was getting ready to move over there just a second or two later. It's going to be dealt with this time around, though, and Nath won't be able to fend off the pressure. It'll build up to too much. Will still end up getting hit by the flashbangs. This is Magnus that mitigate them, not ADSs here. And their frag grenade, if they have one, can roll in, deal with the deployable shield, and there you go, right on time. That'll send Nath further down into the basement. But keep in mind that timer there, FURIA, less than 30 seconds left to get onto the site now, and they've just barely started their push. Doki with the next pickup here takes down Miracle, and it seems that FURIA are having some serious issues getting the aggression out of the site. Good catch of the Nitro, though. At least denies that.
Well, Case obviously on Rare, so they need to get him into sight. They need to do it quickly, but Doki making life so hard for FURIA right now. It's a triple for him as he's finally found his mark. Blurr to support as well, and Rare will die on the hot drop. Navi on the team. Well, either way, Navi able to get things done, and you have to be happy there for Doki, because he really was having a pretty bad half, and finally able to get something going for him, and secures Navi the round there. So solid stuff for them, but that also leads FURIA into their defensive side, and we saw what happened the last time we saw this on a map, and it was Cafe up against SSG, and just to remind you, SSG had a 5-1 lead going into that half.
Very, very true indeed, so this is more than winnable for the folks on Navi, but at the same time, FURIA are going to look to swiftly try and control things from the defensive side of this map. We'll be starting out with the downstairs site hold, actually not over towards Bar, where we saw Navi try to go forward first. It's going to be the kitchen and trophy hold instead. FURIA will extend themselves out a little bit further from what we're normally used to. See if this will yield results for them, potentially locking down one of the more difficult defensive sites early on in the half so that they can go towards the easier ones and try to look for a quick closeout.
Really appreciating Navi's operator strategy here, especially with the Lion coming in on Blurr. I think this is something that's not only effective, obviously, on Chalet, as we've seen it quite a few times, but the other thing is that with FURIA's playstyle, this is going to keep them locked in place. Now, obviously, we all know they don't have to stand in place, but you're just at risk of getting pinged out. So we could see FURIA messing a little bit, or messing around with that EE1D utility a little bit as well. But for Navi, that's definitely going to assist them in trying to slow FURIA's gameplay down to the point where they can actually get some frags on deck initially.
So, for the Navi roster, becomes that bit of aggression. Going to try to actually pinch out the Solarium hold early on from FURIA. Rare on the Clash that will make that a bit more of a difficult task than Navi might be prepared to handle. But at the same time, Rare is very well aware of all that pressure starting to barrel down on them, so he's not going to be too bold about this. He won't go absolutely outside. But as you can see, Navi still making very quick work of trying to push forward into these positions, already taking the bathroom control for themselves. And in just a moment, now that Rare's fallen back, probably going to see the hop in towards Solarium made as well.
Well, Navi starting to get control of the north side of the map here, but FURIA doing a bang-up job of simply waiting to see what the next move is for Navi. They don't want to give up too much here, but Doki in a very forward position inside of the bathroom. The EU1D will assist as he starts to push himself forward here, trying to find the initial frag, but now the Clash marking him out, and more than likely meaning that Doki will be stunted for growth in this area. ADS also eating up one of his frag grenades. Going to throw the second one, but that one's also going to get eaten up as well. Fntzy on a pixel peek here has opportunity to take him down, and he will. Doki losing his life to the 416C.
Blurr taking quite a bit of damage as well, some chip damage slowly bringing him down, but ultimately keeping him safe on the attacking side. It's Fntzy as well that loses a lot here, and Saves gets surprised by the sudden push from the Clash. She's actually getting ready to chuck a nade that didn't want to throw it right at her face. That would have bounced back, potentially killed him. Nade, though, lands in a very good spot. Doesn't kill anyone, but does a great amount of damage to both Lenda as well as Rare from FURIA here.
Oh, and here's the opportunity for Navi as it sparks. Miracle leading out currently on the floor, as well as all the vertical pressure starting to come through from Nath. Blurr also with a kill as well, making this a 4 versus 3. Though to confirm the other kill as Blurr goes for 2, as well as secretly knocking it down to Highs inside of a 1 versus 4. He doesn't have solid position, as well as the barbed wire will give him up on the west main stairs, and this will be very straightforward for Navi. That EE1D making it such a nuisance to try and fight back.
The Doki prophecy, it's coming true from the balcony last night. He was telling us. He said it.
This poor guy.
He said, watch, now that this game means nothing, we're going to win it.
And not only that,
and so far he's correct.
But it's Doki popping off as well. That's the other thing. Like, the entire Navi roster is firing on all cylinders finally. And of course, it's when it literally doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They literally took FURIA to one of their best maps because they just wanted to see what would happen.
We're going to get a quick pause out here. More than likely just a quick tactical from FURIA. They're running into a few issues. This is not a game they want to lose, regardless of the fact that it's irrelevant to the overall standings. It still could have implications to the seeding between them and Space Station throughout the rest of the group here.
Not a change up in the slightest when it comes to the utility overall. Doki's still going to be rocking the Yana, and the Lion still on Blurr.
Like I said there, that last site choice from FURIA was a little bit more of a difficult site to try and play into for the defense, so they're probably going to be saving that for a little bit later on in the half if they find success on these easier sites. This one being the one that we see a lot of teams end up being their kind of go-to. That was the case for Navi as well, as they put the first 2 rounds on it. So back up here to Barn Games to see if FURIA can yield success and once again keep the seesaw going, as they'll try to tie things up for the umpteenth time inside of this matchup here at a 4-4 scoreline. Operator lineup not going to be too varied from what we've seen in the past as well, still bringing a good amount of utility mitigation, just missing the potential Womai, but that's the point where you're approaching just so much of it that obviously it's going to get to a bit of a ridiculous point. So instead of bringing all 3 of those, they are going to bring the Legion in for a little bit of trap utility as well as mitigation to Navi's overall push potential.
Why not? He's always one of those operators you can just throw into a mix, and he's more than likely going to work out. Those goo mines obviously being invisible and just being a nuisance to deal with overall. We were actually having a conversation yesterday about this, about the original Legion, but this also still stands true today. He does a lot of stuff. He damages you, he forces you into an animation, you cannot plant, you cannot sprint, as well as some information. Not as potent as it used to be. He used to be able to see all of his Legion mines through walls, and that was very problematic, but nowadays he's only allowed to see them when he's standing actually in direct line of sight of them. But still, he has an audio cue, so some semblance of info game there still as well, and impacts that obviously can assist with breaking things up or impact denial. Either way, though, Legion and Operator that you can always work into the mix. And speaking of working things into the mix, Doki's going to do it yet again here as he'll find a frag, but won't be able to confirm just yet.
Despite the Legion mine going into him there as well, quickly we'll be able to pull that out. Rare, a little bit cautious on trying to go across this divide to try and get Lenda up. They don't know what kind of crosses they've been able to establish for themselves. And the good news is it's going to get handled. Fntzy somehow sneaks back into Trophy here.
What?
And Blurr either not aware or just not focusing on the position from Fntzy there. So he gets away with the absolutely scot-free double.
I think what happened there is when that kill happened, he had the EU1D popped, and right before he could say Trophy, he hit spacebar and just started flying through the window. Very unfortunate timing there, but obviously a massive boon here for FURIA to be able to take down 2 very early on here. All from the efforts of Fntzy. Now Navi on the back foot. They still have a couple of options here to be able to assist themselves, but it all starts off with getting a few picks. They cannot lose any more members, and specifically, they really cannot lose Secretly. This hard destruction utility, pretty important to their situation right now, if they so choose to try and get control of this library area. But FURIA also could have left that hatch unchecked, so we'll have to see as they're progressing. Navi will be able to at least get some control here. Nath with an immediate frag onto Miracle. It'll shore us up going into the last minute.
It's a good start from Nath to at least start to battle back this 3v5 down to a 3v4 disadvantage. Rare still going to cause quite a bit of delay, though, with those Legion mines constantly being thrown out in the primary hallway they're using to access the floor below them. Navi still needs to make that transition. They have cleared out the library hold at least, but again, in a 3v4, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to trade their way towards a victory. Not to mention that Fntzy still lurking down in the basement that could potentially come up right behind Navi on the route they choose to attack. And Rare still hiding at the bottom of blue there also will make things difficult. That does leave the site itself a little bit weak overall. But the good news is there are very quick rotates which can very quickly get back in a position to support those two players should things get a little bit dodgy for them. Navi trying to explore those possibilities now as they use these final couple extra seconds they have just to read around the sites. Oh, and what a find too. Highs is standing in position. Great drone work and a yellow ping comes out from them. Saves gets an easy kill against Highs.
Well, with high highs come low lows and possibly a save as well, especially depending on how this frag grenade is utilized here. Lenda holding things down inside of the bar stock area. This plant starting to go down, but no nitro cell to try and stop this from happening. Secretly able to get the plant down. Lenda creeping into the angle, but Nath will remove his head for him. Rare now down into the 1 versus 3. He's got some options upstairs. He'll be able to take down Saves, creeping in the corner here, side of library. The shot's just not able to follow through the cracks. Secretly dodges and weaves his way out of games. He'll simply drop the hatch. But with obviously where the case is, this is going to be extremely difficult going forward for Rare. We'll be able to at least get some information as to where Secretly is. He's more than likely going to tap at this and to see if he can possibly get somebody to move, but you can see the Navi members very, very aware of this situation. They don't want to give Rare a chance at all. We'll be able to at least find one, but that timer is going to dip below the allotted amount of time needed to defuse. So Rare just simply going to dance back and forth with Secretly. He'll initially get the frag, but doesn't matter. Navi with round 8.
Stat pads a little bit there just at the end of the round, but obviously to no overall consequence to the round itself. Navi continue to excel on the attacking side, winning 2 rounds in a row, splitting the difference between these two teams at 3-3, now pushing it forward up to a 5-3 deficit for FURIA. Navi now only 2 rounds away from closing out and winning their final matchup in a very unfortunate way, as we've already mentioned quite a few times here. It matters not in the long scheme of things.
You know, you gotta feel bad for Doki right now. I know we keep talking about this, but this is just so very unfortunate.
It's unfortunate how he perfectly predicted how this game was going to go last night more than anything. I'm just finding it really funny.
Not even day of, like literally like 10 p.m. last night. He's like, hey, listen.
like 13 hours ago.
Yes. Like literally 13 hours ago, he's like, listen, this is exactly what's going to happen. We're going to win this game because it literally doesn't matter. FURIA, I mean, they're still putting in a valiant effort as well, and that's the other thing. I think the biggest, part to this that FURIA is really lacking in is that the overall, fragging game right now for FURIA is not working out in the same way that it was working up against SSG, especially for Miracle's sake. They got a lot more, traction out of him, or a lot more longevity out of him inside of that game overall. So a little bit difficult straits right now for FURIA, but it's nothing that they can't fix, and they still have some opportunities to make some mistakes as well.
Important to note here as well, that FURIA is obviously aware of the futility of this match for Navi. Like I said, there's still some seeding potential to play into here, but if FURIA is not highly concerned about that, it could be a possibility that, at least for the defensive side, FURIA is playing into very default setups here so as not to reveal anything more advanced when the playoffs do come around. That would be the smart way to handle it, but as well, they can give us some aggression to try and make up the difference here. As Fntzy gets right up on the game's window and takes down one of the strongest players from Navi here as Doki gets knocked out first.
Well, FURIA or Furious, let me tell you. And Rare is going to be assisting inside of this angry gameplay as well. He'll be on the vigil, and that means that it's probably going to be all-out aggression and also a direct counter for these EE1Ds that have been the bane of their existence since the beginning of this offensive half for Navi. FURIA looking for their first defensive round here, and they've already got a good start on that pick from Doki, but that also means that Navi more than likely going to slow down just a touch. Looks like Navi's got some yellow pings on Fntzy's current position as well, as he'll simply be playing off the single panel here for Library. library and trying to slow down Navi's offense into this area.
Nate's going to go out against Fntzy, but it's a little bit off base. Doesn't bank the corner the way they needed to kill Fntzy, and more importantly, deal with a mute jammer sitting behind that there. So not going to be able to isolate him on either. Fntzy's going to continue to create holes for himself to try and work through. But at the same time, this will be used as an opportunity for Blurr to push back in. Oh, what a flip from Fntzy, though. Flicks onto Blurr to take him out, denies all of the additional library pressure they had gotten, and once again, falls right back behind the safety of that reinforcement so as not to go down to the second nade. No more available for the attackers. They cannot do that again. Saves is going to have to make a swing here, and I'm not sure if he'll realize the position from Fntzy when he does it.
Name something better than Latam and standing their ground.
There we go.
Oh, wait. And, well, didn't have to wait very long there as Saves will finally be able to handle that, but not before Fntzy takes down two big members of Navi's overall game plan. The Yanagon, the Lion down, and down to the bare bones Year 1 Rainbow Six Siege operators. Literally across the board. We've got Sledge, Thatcher, and Thermite as the only existing members of Navi to be up and about. But obviously, the other Navi members will be able to assist in other ways. You can see Doki currently on a drone, trying to hold down the flank here so Navi can start to push themselves forward. Also starting to get some work done on these walls. They'll get Office blown here. Nath also on the rotation to start working K9.
Toxic Babes are going to block the breach going into Office for the foreseeable future, though, as we still have quite a few of those available on the defense. Two more, in fact, so realistically can run down the rest of this time with those two remaining Toxic Babes. You would need to pressure from another angle and force out that third one if they want to access the breach here. So more than likely Secretly and probably some of the other members of Navi going to have to try and run right through that. There is a bottom to top angle cut off from the basement there that Rare's trying to work as well. Going to go a bit more directly forward as he creeps up, and there we go, drops the case. Lenda helps out and takes out the other player in the same position. So down goes all the attacking force for Navi. Nath will be the only one left standing. He did successfully get into the site, but without the case, this man can't do anything right now. It's futile effort. He goes down to Rare. FURIA takes the round.
Yeah, you could tell that Nath was in hot water right there in the enemy territory and really didn't have any place to try and move. Fantastic round there from FURIA as they simply counter out Navi right off the jump. Blur shot going wide there as well, just simply not ready for the FURIA member to be on library. And once again, Fntzy showing up for this squad as they bring it one step closer to tying things up against Navi. And obviously, if Navi do end up getting another round here, that means that we could have overtime, but not if FURIA have something to say about it first.
Certainly the case here. Navi, however, a quick bounce back is potentially in play for them, and that's going to be an interesting 6 pick. We do get one for the defense as well, for going from the Clash to the Goyo, but the more important one is what's happening with Blur right now, because we're going to bring the Nook into play.
Yeah, the Vigil also not going to be on the defensive here for FURIA, so Lion would have gotten just a touch more traction when it came to that situation, but that's really not going to matter at the end of the day. I really like this adjustment here from Blur, honestly, because I think it's going to give them a little bit more frag potential in these opening moments, simply because he'll be able to slip through the cracks like you would assume Nook could. So he'll probably start off in the basement and try and find his way into a frag of one of these FURIA members, because as we've seen from this defensive side so far, they really like to keep things going throughout the entirety of the map. They don't want to allow you to get too much space inside of there, and they continually apply pressure up until about that minute 30 mark. Then Navi's allowed to kind of get something done, but not before they find that dagger and just stab them directly in the heart. It's usually the flank, especially like that last round.
So we're going to see once again if Navi can bring that aggressive prowess to the table. Try to pick up their match point first here against FURIA. If not, that seesaw is going to continue as teams pick up 2 rounds in a row now instead of just 1 here. We'll be tied up yet again for at least the 4th time, if not the 5th, on the inside of this matchup. For FURIA, though, still going to be taking up very aggressive positions inside of the early round, trying to stop Navi before they can even start themselves here, as Fntzy will be on that same Solarium Stairs position that he had played out in previous rounds. This has normally been figured out, however, by Navi, so they'll need to be cautious of it. One round they did somewhat ignore it, allowing for this player, Fntzy, to get a double, but on other rounds, it's been dealt with quite quickly. Fntzy once again aggressive, wants the headshot angle, but instead pays the price. Does put some serious damage back onto Saves in the meanwhile. I'm not sure if that came from Fntzy or another battle, but either way, both players are going to be stepping back from that position for the time being.
Well, luckily enough, Miracle is there to assist by smoking off the angle, so Secretly can't see as clearly into Trophy. Whilst Fntzy's trying to run away, and that's also going to be Blur falling early on here, so the Nook meaning nothing inside of round 10. Lion adjustment not going to work out here, and Navi going to start off on the back foot yet again, but this time it's not going to be the pick onto Doki. Saves also taking a lot of heat here. We already saw what happened to Secretly. That was simply some shots being sent back and forth through the Trophy area that he ended up getting tagged up with, but yet again, FURIA starting with the right foot forward, and this is looking like this could possibly get a little worse here. Oh, Saves. Perfect timing. Also, great trigger discipline there. Did not freak out and shoot some bullets, because that definitely would have ended up losing him his life. But oh no, Rare seemingly aware of this situation. He's holding on to the door, but it might have just been the solid game sense to be watching his rear as well, as at any moment in time, somebody can possibly be in that basement, and you can see he's ready for it, and the Vector's just so damn clean inside of these engagements. It's such a difficult gun to try and combat up against, especially at such low HP, but Doki's good for it. Obviously, lots of damage coming on to him trying to escape out of West Main, but Doki's able to hop inside and confirm the frag.
Great timing from Doki on the refrag right there too. Catches a mid reload. That's why you gotta be careful with the reloads right after you get the kill. And unfortunately, that player did not have much of a choice there. Miracle though fires right back for FURIA, keeps the advantage in the favor of the defense. As now Secretly and Nath are all that remains for the Navi attack here to try and win out the 2v3. They do have a good amount of time to do so.
Well, this is awkward.
Yeah, Nath doesn't even realize it yet. He is walking right towards somebody. He heard the footsteps, but he can't figure out where they came from. Doesn't know that it's literally on the other side of the wall. And what is that? Let's see this on the replay here. Fntzy getting one, whips down to the window and gets the second. Beautiful play from FURIA to tie the game up yet again.
Oh, poor Navi. That is just a depressive episode, to say the least. They're able to jut so far ahead of FURIA here and make it to where FURIA has to try and run it up on the defensive half, but they're good for it, and they are prepared. So many solid rounds here, and just really catching Navi off guard with their positioning, and it's happening time and time again, especially for Fntzy's sake. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time, and I was honestly very worried with him starting off on the Solarium stairs as well, as there was no ADSs to try and support. And as we all know, well, Mai gets his discs over time, so if that was going to be the priority there for Navi, that was more than likely going to be a pretty easy frag at the end of the day. But that was not the case at all. Doki falls in Solarium window again, and that just starts off a string of downfalls for Navi.
So as Navi falter from the initial advantage they got on this attacking side, going up 2 rounds and now losing the following 2, FURIA ties us up yet again here inside of the 10th round, taking us to the 11th with a 5-5 dead heat scoreline between these two teams. And FURIA looking like they really have control over the situation here. Going to be causing some worries for Navi, but in reality, probably not too much because of the situation revolving around this game. So FURIA, though, feeling a lot better about themselves. The quick rebound has allowed for them to keep a close scoreline. Now they're going to look to try and shut this one down inside of the next 2. Once more, a fairly standard setup going to be coming in here. We are going to finally add the Frost into the play, though we've been missing that for most of this matchup. This is where the map where we've seen a lot more Frost play than a lot of the others, and the map where she's kind of been born and bred into the recent meta where we've seen her come into the play. So finally FURIA going to pick her up, I believe, for the first time inside of this map.
Those Frost mats always fun in Lenda. A little misclick there for a second. Deployable shield in front of the window, probably not the option there, and instead we'll put down that welcome mat that he wanted to set there initially. Navi going to be starting things off on the Solarium side here yet again, so FURIA more than likely having an answer to this, but just remember the bomb sites are a little bit different this time around, so they're going to be playing mostly focused towards the library side, unless, well, your Fntzy, who's going to be running forward into the fray here. Rare's going to be taking, Rare, excuse me, he's going to be taking a lot of damage, though, as he'll try to hold things down on piano in support of Fntzy's play.
Literally just a sliver of HP, so he has to be careful with every step he takes. One stray random bullet, like those that are coming into the room right now from Navi.
Things get very sketchy. Yeah. It gets very sketchy.
Very easily kill Rare. So he's going to find a nice safe corner, just sit in it, and probably not do much else until he's forced to through the rest of this round. Yellow ping out through the wall there, and it is going to be able to down Lenda, not Rare. Rare's still alive, and now more aggression going to start to work its way out here from a different player. Instead, it's Fntzy getting it done yet again here on the Aruni, taking down Doki and keeping the numbers even in a 4v4.
Folks, just remember that if you lean like that, that your hip always sticks out. That's how Fntzy's going to be able to get that kill there. And oh man, Rare with the M590, able to take down Secretly, and Blurr finally able to fire back here as well with some artillery. We'll be able to equalize things going into a minute 30, and this round's been pure chaos so far. Case currently down outside on Secretly's corpse, so Navi will have to try and find an answer to this, but they still have to worry about some pressure from FURIA around this blue staircase. They still haven't found an answer to this deployable shield setup.
Rare waiting on these pixel angles is really all he can afford to fight from. We already talked about his HP issues before, but that didn't stop him. A nice aggressive swing with the M590 picked him up another kill. And with the 3v3 locked in here, Rare's going to continue to maintain that top blue stairs pressure. Probably will fade away the moment he loses the deployable shield. It's just far too risky of a fight past that point. He's not the only one, though, trying to establish aggressive positioning. We can see this lineup here from Miracle. He's going to get spotted, though, by that Twitch drone on the other side of it. So as a result of that, can no longer make this Nitro cell play. It'll be a little bit too obvious to the players in the window.
This is going to be a difficult round for Navi to try and muster, but it starts off with a great pick here from Blurr as he'll take down Rare, who is traversing the blue stairs. The remainder inside of sight. Blurr also getting a freebie as Highs simply jumps into Fireplace Hall for some odd reason. Blurr waiting with open arms. Miracle now inside of the 1 versus 3 as Navi have their best chance to guarantee overtime here, but not if Miracle has anything to say about it. Remember, this SAS kit, especially Mutes, extremely potent with that Nitro cell for his secondary utility. Nath knows where the member is now. Miracle ready for the gunfight, but Nath that much better on the mechanics, the lean game, so strong there. He'll win out the engagement and guarantee overtime for Navi.
Navi at least getting themselves up to that 6 point and also starting to hurt Furia's overall seeding on the inside of this group here too, considering that no longer going to be able to get full points out of this matchup. And that's even if they win it here. Navi looking to be in a good position here to potentially take the 7-5 victory if they can get one more going for themselves as well. But for Furia, we've already seen plenty of times inside of this matchup that they've been able to trade these rounds back almost instantaneously with some of their own quick adjustments, just like we were seeing from Navi. So can they pull off this final one? Or is Navi going to indeed pull off quite the upset here as they prepare to exit the tournament?
It's up to Furia right now to try and force this into overtime and at least guarantee themselves a point, if not 2, if they're able to win it. Obviously cannot win it inside of regulation anymore, but that's a different story for Navi. But as you guys heard John talking about, this is not a benefit to them at all. What's a benefit to them is simply playing this map. And I will be really honest with you. This is a pretty solid looking Navi. I really like this roster.
Yeah, certainly the case. I mean, obviously a much better performance. You have to wonder at a certain point, if I think the analyst has brought this up at one point too, talking to some of the members of Navi, maybe the pressure got to them. Maybe they got too nervous, a little over-serious inside of some of these matches. I know that's a bit of a ridiculous statement when you consider we're not major of all things, but hey, it does happen. The pressure gets to teams. You could say that that's been happening to a certain extent for even NIP, the current world champions, looking to repeat their major run once again here at the Mexico Major.
It's just absolutely insane how much your mental sanity as well as just the vibes of the team overall. I know that just sounds kind of weird when I say it like that, but it really does matter at the end of the day. When it's a stressful situation and you have...
Especially for this game.
Exactly. You know, and when you're walking into a major like this with some younger players and stuff like that, they don't know what that kind of pressure is like. You have so many eyes on you just simply watching your gameplay. Any mistake that you make is broadcasted to thousands of people around the world. And also on top of that, you're trying to win a major with somebody across from you that is also trying to win the major, and you don't want to get in the way of them winning the major. So there's a lot of stuff that happens for these teams that just becomes very stressful. But obviously, it's like we've been talking about throughout the entirety of this game. For Navi, this is a stress-free engagement.
So, for Navi, speaking of the stress-free engagement, they're really going to look to have some fun on this one, with saves at least there, as they're going to bring that Gara hook into the play. Grappling hook, seeing if Navi will be able to potentially use that to get themselves further into the map here and potentially get a bit of an explosive entry against some of the members of Furia when they find the opportunity to use it.
Okay, well, first minute and no one's dead, so that's a good start for both of these teams, as that's basically been the case for like the last 3 to 4 rounds here. Although now for Navi, a little bit slower on their offense, as we would expect here from them for most of this time. Finally able to get that last round in the previous one when it was 5-5 and right the ship, get themselves up and on to 6. As we were talking about previously as well, Saves still going to be running the Gara hook here as well. So we'll see what they want to try and get done with that. This is going to allow him to make some pretty cheeky adjustments as well across the map if he so chooses to do so. And just remember that they can also traverse hatches with that. So could be interesting fold that we see later on down the line. But as for Navi, they're going to begin breaking things up. Obviously, this is going to be a Master Office offense, as Secretly will breach open Office and start getting things set up for Navi to try for a plant attempt.
Navi starting to swing forward into Office. For now, it is just going to be the Gemini moving out from Blur right there, so no actual push coming in from the squad just as of yet here. Regardless, though, we've got them primed in position to start putting the pressure on a Furia, but they seem a little bit hesitant to try and move things forward here. Furia, though, patiently waiting it out. And Highs only just now realizing that he's in the midst of a burning room here, as they lose one of those Goyo shields, and unfortunately, he's right behind it. Notices it quickly enough, though, and gets himself out of there without 50 HP, so not the end of the world for Highs, just certainly some nice damage coming out from Navi. But what we really need to see from Navi right now is control. They've been unable to leverage that for themselves all throughout this round here. Miracle still holding a very aggressive position against the master bedroom windows. May potentially definitely have to watch out for that. The first attempt at the plant now coming through here. Highs sends it off. He's able to take down Nath, but now we've got Saves coming in the back door here as well, putting the pressure onto FURIA. They don't even know it's here as well. He's just absolutely wrapping through it as he's going to be able to get two, but indeed Lenda stays alive, trades it out, as does Rare. That's the advantage going into the favor of FURIA, but only for a split second as Doki resumes it for Navi as we go down to a 2v2. A little bit through the diffuser cycle here as well, but that's another big pickup for Lenda as he takes down Doki. Blurr, now the only one left. He trades onto Rare and downs him, but now Lenda right over on top of the case here, but ultimately Blurr has the advantage. How will Lenda try to play this here as he needs to force his opponent out somehow? There's no time to go back and try to res his teammate. There's the first tap at the moment. Lenda sticking it, jumps off to take the fight. Now Lenda hopping out, and he's going to get the kill as well. It's a triple. He does have just enough time, but we'll see. It was very, very close. Should be able to get it done, though, and with that, more than likely, FURIA are going to trigger overtime. What a close catch, but FURIA get it done.
0.2 seconds, John, is all that was on that timer. That was all that Navi had to muster to prevent overtime, but FURIA get it done. And I hate to say it, but Saves, that play was yours, and you screwed all of that up. He was able to get the first two initial kills. Look at these beautiful frags, but he thinks that he kills the Valkyrie, and that's the problem. He didn't. And guess who was able to clutch up? The Valkyrie. Just very unfortunate for Navi there. I love the idea of the play, especially with how much action was going on inside of the bomb site there. So many bullets flying, explosives going off and everything. Perfect opportunity for a Gara hook into Solarium.
Yeah, absolute beautiful use of the operator coming in there for Navi, but unfortunately it's all for naught, as they're still not going to be able to close out inside of regulation and gain that nice little point gain at the end of the tournament that they truly would have liked to get a few days ago. FURIA as well, this reignites their chance to pick up at least a couple of points by closing this one out with a win, and of course still getting the OT loss points by making it to this point in the game. 6-6 though, once again, for anybody who's watching who might be newer to Siege and is just tuning in for the first time. First of all, welcome. Second of all, we run our overtimes in a pretty simple manner here. It's just 3 extra rounds. The best 2 out of 3 of those will win the match, so the magic number here to win is 8 on the top of your screen.
Is that what the magic 8 ball says, John? You shake it up pretty good.
I don't think it just says 8, but
well, the ball does, but the ball overall does not. Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, the little pyramid thing on the inside.
the little pyramid that tries to tell you how your life's going to go. What if those things really worked and everyone just thought it was a lie? Wouldn't that just be the greatest? It'd actually be terrifying. I'll be honest.
That's a conspiracy theory right there, isn't it?
But that's just a theory. A game theory.
All right, well, let's see here for FURIA how they're going to try and work these extra defensive rounds. They do get the defensive start to try and play off of here to try and leverage the first of those 2 rounds that they need to close this matchup out. They've gotten the opportunity once again to get a win for themselves, and they're not going to want to waste it. Same can be said for Navi, though. This is turning out to be quite the interesting match at the end of the day, considering what all of us thought going into it. And Navi certainly putting up a great fight here against FURIA, but can they take it all the way? So close to closing it out in that last round, but falling short by just a few frags here. We're already going to see Doki working his way forward here, taking quick control of games and trying to chase down the player in the bar. Even saw him for a second too, but more than likely Rare going to make it out of here. He's already gone to the basement. He's got multiple options to escape this position. The only way he could best this up is if he heads towards Garage, as there is another member of Navi already in position there. As we continue to see what Doki is going to work towards here. He'll wrap himself through the rest of the first floor hallway. Man, Doki is getting so much free intel without even using a drone right now. Miracle nearly becoming the victim of that intel gathering as he goes down to sub 25 HP. Unfortunate for Doki, he's not able to close that out. Now they know his position further forward there on the first floor, and they'll start to set up to counter that.
Well, Saves, I hate to break it to you, but your angle is a little bit too tight there. It's not able to see Rare cross or the west main stairs, so still garage control down low. I'll be able to at least hold on to that, but really accounting for all of too much, all except for the hatch drop that we could possibly see from a FURIA member later on. We're about halfway through this round now, though, as there's really only been damage dealt to Miracle. Very low on HP right now, and still on top of 3 of those smokes, so he's going to want to maintain his life for as long as possible, especially with Navi traversing very quickly through their tasks. Starting off on the wall now for Dining, but obviously still a decent road ahead of them when it comes down to it, with the amount of FURIA members still alive. Fntzy starting to get lit up on his own. He still has 2 of those discs as well, but now Rare is actually going to be the first one to fall.
First kill going into the favor of Navi. A minute left still to play this out. Things are certainly looking good, but there's a couple elements out and about from the site Navi are still going to have to worry about. Most notably Fntzy, one of the most dangerous players for FURIA, but this time not the case. Doki's a little bit more dangerous as he takes out Fntzy cleanly. Miracle also got dropped in the process of that fight as well. I don't know where exactly at, further down in the kitchen from the looks of it. However, he'll get retrieved. He'll be brought back up by one of his teammates there, Lenda helping him out, and now we'll see if Highs' own aggression as he moves out from Solarium here. can yield anything to finally start firing back. And meanwhile, though, oh my goodness, this nade just lobbed right up on top of Highs. He's probably wondering, how the heck did they figure out I'm even here? But in the meanwhile, Diffuser's going to go down on the first floor. Miracle is able to deny the retreat from the planter. He secretly tries to fall back through the Toxic Babes and pays the price for it. Doki gets himself the second kill, clearing out the entire upstairs roam game, but Lenda is going to try to reignite as he heads back towards the Solarium stairs to start the retake. They can't do this from just the first floor. They need to clear things out up here, but Blurr very much ready for that. Rips the HP off of Lenda. Miracle's fallen as well. So for Lenda, he's now the last bastion of hope here for the FURIA roster, and it's looking tough. He's just going to try to play this out to the best of his own capability, but the round certainly going to go by Navi's way as they take the 13th.
And not on that half, that it ended up splitting 3-3. Obviously, we've traveled quite a long ways since then, as we are currently sitting at 6-7 with Navi on the precipice of taking out FURIA here. And honestly, very, very good game in between these two. I love the reads that Navi are getting on FURIA. They're starting to understand the way that they enjoy playing this game. And really, it's not all-out aggression. It's very tactical in the way that they do things. They're just simply not afraid to continue to get into your face, even when the mana account's a lot lower. Obviously, even when it comes to the retake, that's a pretty obvious one. You're going to need to clear out that top floor and stuff like that. But FURIA are always down to try and take these fights, and it usually works out for them. That's something that you and I noted about APAC as well, is that they really want to try and equal that man count, and it usually ends up with that last minute being a toss-up in between the two teams.
So let's see. Once again, Navi pushing themselves forward onto match point. The opportunity to shut things down. They had this earlier, though, with a 2-round advantage over FURIA, and unfortunately, we're not able to get the job done as FURIA bounced it back. The seesaw continues to go back and forth between these two teams, and FURIA has the opportunity to saw it back into their favor one final time here to try and reignite that potential for a win. If not, though, Navi going to come out here with the victory for themselves, and FURIA will just have to take the overtime loss points at the end of this matchup. Operating lineup for the attacker is going to look fairly standard here as well. No real surprises in any sort of change-ups we will see. In fact, this is probably the most standard lineup we've seen out of FURIA so far for the attack.
Absolutely, my friend. And just as a friendly reminder to you guys, we do also have a Bravo stream going on right now that's currently airing a G2 game that is pretty interesting. So make sure you have that up on a secondary screen or use multi-Twitch, my favorite websites when it comes down to watching a multitude of different esports at the same time. So always very useful. But either way, though, possibly the last round on the docket now here is with 30 seconds in. FURIA obviously going to be on the offense like we have been talking about. They are down 1 round, so they'll need 2 rounds in order to win this out. And like we were talking about before with our OTs, it's a best of 3 rounds. FURIA, though, going to begin things off on the Solarium side, just like we saw them previously do for this exact same site. They'll have to propel themselves forward and get Rare back inside of Office, but this is where Blurr is stepping up to the plate. Obviously, this has been FURIA's opener for this every single time, so they more than likely know that Rare's main game plan is to get inside of Office and get open this wall.
Nath continuing to wait out. More importantly, just wait down the time a little bit here, but he is going to see the Gemini work its way through. That wastes out the Aruni gate sitting on that position there, and we can see from the other side of the reinforced wall on the inside of Office, well, it's not going to be reinforced for too much longer as the exothermic charge goes down, knocking it out. More play potential going to be coming in here in a second, too. They're also going to try to put additional pressure on Nath from the window. He's trying to throw out these magnets to make up the difference, and it might very well do it. We'll see if it ends up eating the frag. There we go, up into the corner. Enough of a damage spread it should be to avoid the destruction of the deployable shield, just by a smidge as well. You can see it managed to take out some of the other pieces of utility, just not enough to deal with the deployable shield.
Well, to at least hold on to this position. It got a little scary there for just a split second as one of the frag grenades that got caught up in the disc actually ended up destroying a lot of the utility surrounded by Nath, but the tank for FURIA is for the utility already dwindling in that moment. So Navi now jet ahead, especially in that department, but not before Doki makes it actually matter inside of the man count. Lenda to fall, and now they shoot ahead here in the last minute. But like we were talking about before, that doesn't mean that FURIA is going to slow down anytime soon. Miracle actually jutting forward instead, getting very aggressive, and no one's watching this at all. All of a sudden, Games goes into FURIA's pocket, and they have a plant attempt available. Blurr's going to fall as well. Doki's the lone member of Navi alive as he'll climb out of the basement. Fantasy will kill him, and FURIA, off the back of one of their own dying, get 5.
FURIA has some great aggression coming out at the end of the round. They're able to steal that one right out of Navi's hands. Doki's aggressive positioning looked like it was going to be fending off, not to mention the great utility work from Nath in the mid-round there at the top of the blue stairs. Looked like FURIA was really going to have to struggle their way in, and it still certainly was the case, but Navi just seemingly not ready for that type of aggression to come out in the late round, and so they lose the follow-up in overtime. Here will be tied up again at 7-7 and go all the way to the final round.
Well, lessons learned there for Navi is more than likely very aware that bar was not being watched. I'm like, oh, okay, well, we're more than likely going to have to do that the next time around. But either way, though, 7-7 is will take us all the way to the last round here on Chalet. Round 15, as we all know and love, to decide it between these two. Whoever takes this, takes Chalet and the victory for today. FURIA obviously getting a point here just for being inside of overtime. So if Navi does indeed win and take the top 2 points, then not all is lost at the end of the day, but obviously still want those 2 points.
Definitely will be the case for FURIA. Like we said, seeding is still very much a real thing, and with the loss taken versus SSG, they are going to more than likely need to try and gain an overall advantage in points in order to try and take that first seed out of the group. Still be a tough task here, but the more they can get, the better as we approach the final matches of this group, and those seedings will indeed be locked in heading into the playoffs in 2 days' time. For Navi, though, looking to try and get at least one good match on the record here before we say goodbye to them. As just a brief reminder for anybody who might have tuned in the middle of the match, Navi, regardless of the outcome of this matchup, will not be moving forward into the playoffs. So this match purely just going to be for seeding for FURIA's sake, as Navi cannot do anything to change their fate at this point.
Well, the realest question here, as we are obviously on our last round, is, well, is Doki indeed the writer of the script when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege Esports? As we talked about previously. Yes, as we talked about previously, the prophecy from last night as we stood outside above the beautiful city of Mexico City, and him talking about this squad and the possibility for them to win today simply because the pressure was not going to be on, but it's starting to look very difficult as FURIA already jumped ahead with 2 kills inside of the first 30 seconds. One down from some toxic smoke, and the other coming through with an MP5. They'll be able to follow it up either way, but finally Doki able to get something done for Navi as well. This is such an action-packed first 45 seconds. I'm assuming it's going to slow down now.
FURIA ready to fend off the aggression for the most part, though. Doki once again being one of the few players here on Navi having success on the attacking side. The good news is some of the other ones that have been doing it are still alive here as well, most notably Blurr there on the Yana. Doki right around the corner from one of the members of FURIA, also probably going to be encroaching on their territory very soon. This is a very fast attack coming out from Navi. They want to keep the pressure on. Doki nearly loses his life. He's got to sprint away as well, but he's got other problems coming up the staircases right now. Lenda now going to push out with another teammate. Doki makes the wrap, but can only get one more onto the board. Rare immediately trades that out. Saves is left alive once again as the only player left standing here, and he's going to be surrounded very quickly. 2 different peeks at once. They're not fully confident in it, though, so Saves more than likely will be allowed to escape this situation and try to peek in at a different part. The problem is going to be made a very obvious factor here. You can still have that basement player rotate to get in his face here, too, but he reads it again.
Oh, no.
Doesn't somehow knock off the head of Lenda. Very surprised he survived that, but either way, Lenda dodges death, gets himself out of a bad situation. Saves gets yet another opportunity to move forward, but certainly with less HP now, as he's going to take the heat from the impact. Maybe another one of those 2, but never mind. Rare's already used the second one, so won't be able to do that again, as Saves throws a lot of damage over onto Rare, and only the cost of another 25 HP from his own health pool. Wrapped around the corner, knows that maybe the aggressive play is made. He certainly hears the footsteps to suggest that, but cannot lock down onto either of these players. Saves is trying so hard to make this happen. Even needs to reload that gun, which is such a rarity. Completely blinded. Out. Still FURIA. Do not want to push it, though. Another flash out. I think that was his last one, and indeed it was. Saves trying to use it as a bait as he wraps to a different angle. You got to give respect to this man for trying here. He's putting his best effort into this one in every way, shape, and form that he can. I think FURIA's even yelling at him now. Push already. Come on. Come into the site. But Saves wants to try and play this so cautiously. Down to the final 30 seconds here as he wraps over to the corner, looks for the first pick up. There's Lenda going down. There's no way he's going to be able to make this happen for himself there. Gonna see the Banshee just pop off for a second. Doesn't change things that much, though, as Saves now really needs to push in. We're approaching the 15-second mark. He doesn't have time anymore. He has to play the objective at this point and work in, but finally Rare gets the winning angle. FURIA shuts it down, and they take the matchup 8-7.
What an awkward engagement there right at the end for Saves. Poor guy. Stuns himself.
My throat hurts from trying to cast all that.
Well, I don't know if you saw his face cam, but that's why I was laughing the whole time, is because he just had this smile, this big grin on his face, and he stuns himself.